context of location, premise is not the singular of premises.
That's correct.
Just to get it out there to all our viewers, so they understand.
Grammar Nazis unite.
Yeah, and just a pause there, just for those who are joining us, we've got Nicolas Blank here, who is Exchange MVP, and he's interested in cloud and Azure, and we're just covering some topics around announcements with Azure and Azure Stack at this stage. Thank you.
So, Exchange has a birthday.
It's tonight.
Did you crack a salty yet?
A what?
Cry.
Oh, cry.
Oh,
Crack a salty. You're a South African, you don't know what that is. You can tell you. They don't speak like that.
at this point in time, I'd like to apologize for the cultural context that Alistair's trying to impose on the show.
It's a pity we don't have a
little ticket tape.
yeah. We don't even have a beeper. Anyway, so back, yeah.
So it's a big moment for you guys.
It's a big deal. Exchange is the original killer application for a whole bunch of stuff.
That's where it all started.
Well, it made Active Directory useful. Before that, we had Active Directory, and it was this thing which was going to replace this whole world that we had in NT4.
That's harsh words, eh?
No, it's true words, because we had an application that stored its configuration in this new directory, right? And nothing else was there beforehand. Exchange did the same thing for PowerShell. Exchange was the first PowerShell provider that used PowerShell in the way that the father of PowerShell, Jeffrey Stover, envisioned how PowerShell should be used.
I can see it on your face.
He's as bad as Yammer MVP.
Rein it back though,
Because we want to claim everything.
But there is some truth to it, and I have to say, like last year when I was at Ignite, I managed to get along to the 20th year celebration, and I was actually in awe listening to the story, the history of Exchange, and how much it's played a role in changing the world.
Yeah.
Do you not think
with email.
that System Center influenced Exchange? Because it's older than Exchange.
No.
There you go.
But I'd love for you to unpack that point.
No, I'm just testing the waters here because I know that I'll get a lot of no's, and the only yes would be when I agree with you. Learning.
Coming back to the history of Exchange and Active Directory.
Oh yeah. So Exchange is the killer application for a whole bunch of things, including networking, because in the good old days, if you had Exchange 5.5 and you had shared Ethernet segments, and you needed to convince your boss that you needed to buy a switch, this brand new thing called the switch, and Exchange was the way to do it, because Exchange stress tested a network like a few other things, and now going to cloud.
It's 5 now. 5 things.
5 things it's claimed. But no, I'm impressed the way you're framing this, because I follow that. I can understand that thinking. Keep
So
going.
let's talk about Exchange Online.
Yeah.
It does a similar thing. So one of the things I like to talk about at length is that the network that's built to browse is not the same network that you use to consume cloud services. And you'll understand this from your adoption work. So you have this company, and what have we been doing for the last 10 years is, well, Daryl needs to browse. I'll let him browse, but I'll inspect everything that he does. And I'll write that out to a log somewhere. That's probably an inspecting proxy. And then I have layers of firewalls and have stuff in between, and IPS and IPG and everything else. So it's not uncommon to see anything up to 7 hops between a corporate network and the internet, with 3 inspecting devices of some sort, right? And then we put Exchange Online on the other side of that, and it exposes that entire stack for what it is that it's a monolith of compliance that no longer has a place for what are we going to do in cloud to consume cloud. And so while we understand...
We're going to have fun with that all week.
So while we understand that there's a place for inspection and control, and I'm not negating that, so we need to understand what is Daryl doing when he browses to somewhere, and even what is he doing when he's browsing to Exchange Online, to SharePoint, to OneDrive. With that, we want to know, what did he do, when did he do it, and what did he do it with, right? So who did what and when. Now that we can fix with a cloud service called CASB, inside Office 365, or pick the vendor of your choice, because there are many other vendors in the Gartner Magic Quadrant that we can choose from, that does this in a way that doesn't impact on the holy grail of network consumption, which is network latency. right?
It is.
So if I have a customer that has a data center in country with a 3 millisecond ping, and it takes them 150 milliseconds to get to exchange, that's a problem.
It is.
And that's when we need to look at,
I mean, you can't have people waiting 150 milliseconds for that message that was sent from there to there, can you?
well, it's let's just preface or frame why, you see what I did there? How I use those two words. It's an English thing.
Sorry, what was that?
Preface.
I dozed off.
And frame,
Sorry, guys.
understand.
Sorry.
Again, we need to apologize. No,
Are you a father?
I am.
So we have a bunch of dads making dad jokes. Again, we're sorry. So we need to preface
And the
the
other
reason
word.
why delays are impactful on exchange.
So you said it's going to take me 150 milliseconds to send a mail. Well, I would say that's wildly optimistic that you can get mail working that fast,
True.
right? But why do we care about 150 milliseconds? Well, an SSL handshake is 13 transactions. Okay, times 150, and we may have multiple certificates in play. We may have federation certificates. We have maybe CBA or cert-based auth.
We're peeling back the layers here, and I'm loving this. All right, keep going.
So that's just SSL, right? Now what about something like I need to negotiate Auto-Discover? So where's my stuff? Auto-Discover says, I'm going to expose a web service to you and I'm going to protect it. That's why I've got an SSL cert in front of it. And then I'm going to authenticate, which takes time. I'm going to query, which takes time because it's a stateful service. I need to create a connection and then hopefully I'm going to get some XML back, either via Outlook or ActiveSync or anything that I'm using to consume the service. And all I've done so far is open up Outlook and maybe added a calendar and so that 150 milliseconds starts multiplying.
Yeah.
And then we have shared calendaring and the world ends. Because now I have, instead of just my one connection up and my other connection down from an HTTP point of view, which is what Outlook does, I now open Al's calendar.
Over OPC, is that the one?
RPC.
Over HTTP, which is the old standard, which is good for a SharePoint person that they know some things about
A little
mail.
bit, just a little bit. Like OA.
Are you following all this? I mean, we're still getting familiar with our audience, but what I'm feeling is that Nick's actually walking us through all those layers that we were talking about before and explaining why delay is important. Well, it's important to deal with delay.
Yeah. So we're a little bit in the weeds, so let's just take a step back. So delays in networking when we connecting to cloud services are evil. And we understand that they're there for a reason. However, that reason needs to be examined in a cloud world. And we have to mitigate it or we're going to have a cloud or bad cloud experience and then people say, cloud didn't work for me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things, one of the reasons why people do look at things like Office 365 and they say, I want to stay on-prem. Security reasons or whatever, well, they're dealing with that. But delay in performance, that's a significant issue. And down in my part of the world where sometimes businesses don't have the best bandwidth and they may be using at best a VDSL connection 4 megs up, then delay is definitely important.
And that's horrible because VDSL, as we know, is a shared service on top of a shared medium like copper. So it's doubly bad.
So what do you, well, how many phrases? You're obviously very familiar with that discussion and talking customers through, why go cloud, why not go cloud, why work in hybrid, why not work in hybrid. Are you seeing more of a shift though to the cloud?
Oh yeah. We saw when cloud started that no one trusted it. So Al's cloud service comes to town and Al says implicitly, trust me, because that's the message of cloud. Put something in something that I own so that I can make your life easier or I can create a commodity out of it, right? So at the beginning, it was all about trust. I don't trust Microsoft with my data. So we have this trust center, which Microsoft has created, which is marvelous. For those of us who have to fight the compliance wars, I just pick the certificate that I need, that one, and then I say, we are compliant. And mostly the compliance officer says, I'll trust you a little bit more now, but not completely. So cloud adoption for me was all around how fast can we trust this thing that's come to town And then once we trust it, then we get into the hype curve. I can do anything with cloud. And obviously I can't. But I have to observe the limits that the cloud vendor places on me. I can only send so much mail, I can store so much data. And Microsoft has been amazing in terms of how much they've allowed over the years. And the fact that I can send 150 megabyte attachment into a 100 gigabyte mailbox. That's just unthinkable on premises a few years ago.
Massive storage costs.
Massive storage cost. Well, on premises, we used to build these things. And there we used similar concepts. And the concept is that cloud is a way of thinking. It's not a destination. And so,
Right.
and so with that, and that's not my quote, that's something I've taken from Jeffrey Snover, and father of PowerShell, which Alistair will enjoy, and father of a lot of things in Azure as well. And in the way that some of the minds inside Microsoft thinking about cloud really challenges how we've looked at life in terms of the whole lead pipe approach. And the lead pipe approach also speaks to trust, because if I can touch something, I'll trust it. But if you virtualize something as a service, as whatever, and now I need to trust you, I can only execute at the speed of trust. So to your question, I think we're moving as fast as we're willing to trust the service that is being provided. And I think that's part of the reason why we have Azure Stack as well, to your earlier question, because I have something on premises. So I can put something in there, I can touch it, I can see it, I can trust it.
I think that's a good way of linking the two topics and sort of coming close to the end of the broadcast. It's all about establishing trust. As you said, Microsoft have done a great job in exploring, documenting, reaching those certification levels, so it makes our job easier to point to the qualification.
That's right.
And say, hey, Mr. Compliance Man, Mrs. Compliance Man, go read the docos, because I don't even know what the answer is.
Yeah.
But around that trust of, well, I know Microsoft's messaging was, yeah, we've got all these data centers, go cloud, go cloud, go cloud. And then, actually, no, we need to make the journey a lot easier than that. Let's create that hybrid journey and make it far easier. They've done a great job with Exchange.
Yeah.
And just picking out some of the themes that we've been talking about. Yet another way that Exchange has led the charge, set the standard for other services to do that.
Yeah.
Now Azure comes through and is doing the same thing. Let's make that transition to Azure in the cloud easier by providing the same, as far as we can, the same kind of environment on-prem with Azure Stack.
Yeah, completely agree with that.
All right. Well, let's just round that off there. I know Al's been testing some of his kit in the background and having a bit of fun. Al, did you want to come in and say goodbye? Cool. Okay, good. This is Nicolas Blank. It's been awesome talking to you. And I think all week we're going to be finding people that we just want to spend time with all day. Just
people with
learning
lesser
from.
IQ, because you set the bar now.
He's our
Quadruple digits, schooling us on grammar.
Right. Yeah.
That's just because you're a soft target, but we still love you.
And he talks about TCP IP like it's his second wife. I prefer to see him as a UDP packet.
But I have state.
A little networking joke there, and we're still getting familiar with our audience, so you may or may not laugh at that. So that was regarding 365. Daryl as a service, Alistair Pugin, and our guest Nicolas Blank. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Where can they find you, by the way?
I need to remember that.
Yeah.
Where can they find you on the internet?
Well, at the moment, I'm right here, and if you're on the internet, you'll find me here. Otherwise, you can find me at Nicolas Blank on Twitter. That's Nicholas without an H. You can also find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. And I have an Instagram account, but I use that for pointlessly meaningless travel pictures, which I think are awesome, have nothing to do with IT.
But you can follow him there if you really want to.
Yeah, and I'd appreciate the follow, because then I feel like a meaningful teenager with many likes on my sunset photos.
And your podcast, yeah?
Thank you very much for the reminder.
Yeah, good.
We have a cloud-focused podcast. It's called thearchitects.cloud, and we have featured the Alistair Pugin.
Okay.
And we look for interesting people, and where we don't find interesting people, we sometimes put
Go back to
Alistair in because
Pugin.
we've got no one else. And this week we're quite active at Ignite, so we're finding some interesting people, sometimes in networking. So we hoping to find the blokes, because they're English, ex-colonial oppressors, and well, one of them was.
Yes.
Yes, we're in an English colony, America, so there's context there, and we're going to be interviewing them about things like express route. When do you, as an Australian, you appreciate I said that wrong? I apologise. Sorry.
He's a Kiwi.
He's a Kiwi. Sorry, I've just insulted.
It's all right.
Anyway, my podcast I share with my co-hosts Warren Dutoy and Christopher Goosen, both wonderful human beings, and you'll hear them doing different pieces and sounding much more intelligent than me. So thank you very much.
Look forward to hearing from it. All right. Bye for now.